Messi equalises.
Capelli Sport is an established global team sports provider based in New York City with partners reaching all corners of the world. Capelli Sport has developed success on the platform of GMA Accessories, a global retail manufacturer and importer of apparel, footwear, and fashion accessories, which was founded by CEO and President George Altiers in 1990. This established and successful platform has supported the growth and reach of Capelli Sport, which can now be seen on top clubs and leagues around the world. Capelli Sport has developed a unique ownership and management component of its business to include ownership shares in top professional clubs. MSV Duisburg, Germany, Men Bundesliga 3 and Women Bundesliga 1. HB Koga, Denmark, Men First Division and Women Elite Division. Cedar Stars Rush, USA and USL League 2, and Inter Allies, Ghana, Premier League. In addition to the professional clubs, Capelli Sport owns and operates a global youth academy, Cedar Stars Academy, with locations in New York and New Jersey, USA, Koga, Denmark, and Accra, Ghana. Capelli Sport puts focus on growing the brand, servicing partners, player development and coaching education opportunities, and supporting partner clubs' business. These clubs support the growth of the Capelli Sport brand, as well as a strong focus on player development and player opportunities. The uniqueness of the Capelli Sport business model, network, and experience puts the company in a league of its own in the service, expertise, and support it gives its partners. Capelli Sport is focused on working with like-minded individuals with a goal to push the limits and chart new territories.
It is the first ever Capelli Sport Fashion Show right here in Philly 2023. It's going to be so much fun.
Say that I'm such a weirdo. Tattoos from my toes to my earlobes. Was a role model, I never had a hero. I learned how to live through the stereo. Coming from where I come from, nothing to fear, yo. Everything you see ain't what it appears, though. Everything that I built made that from zero, then added a zero. I am my hero. You couldn't imagine what it's like in my mind. It's beauty and catastrophe at the same time. Remember they laughed at me when it was game time. Now I know that they mad at me. I'm one you can't find. I'm not from the day. I come alive at night. I'm not what you used to. Couldn't recognize. They all on the ground while I'm taking flight. Yeah, you're welcome to join me. I promise I won't bite.
Stay
Capelli Sport is an established global team sports provider based in New York City.
Good evening, guys. Welcome to tonight's presentation of the live draw, the Final Four. It's great to be here. I'm here with the EPSL League Secretary, Bill Marth.
Great to be here.
So this league season, I think, was probably the best yet, in my opinion. What do you think?
I think so. I think we had some great competition. In the Delaware River Conference, Oakland United really came on strong at the end. I think they outscored their opponents something like 20, could be a little off, but something like 25-3 over their last couple matches. So they're going to be a strong contender in the playoffs. Fall River is always a tough team, and I don't think there's any more storied club than the New York Penn Cyprians, and Nova's last year's champion. So we got a really great Final Four.
Yeah, I think in the Metropolitan Conference especially, we had a really tense three-way race for most of the season. Occasionally the fourth or fifth, you get the spoilers that came in, and we saw a lot of, I think the biggest development in the league, across the league, everywhere, is the development. When you look at the Metropolitan Conference, you see Manhattan Celtic that got promoted into the league just a year ago, and already there were just a game or a win or two out of the playoffs. You look at the Delaware River Conference, a lot of these teams came out of an unsanctioned league that wasn't affiliated with the U.S. adult soccer. With your help and Aaron Sexton, who's not here right now, but hopefully tuning in, really put that league together, affiliated them, and really put some strong gains, and even them putting on some great shows in the U.S. Open Cup and other cups, and it's a massive success story.
Yeah, it's great. Not only did we have 9 teams in the Delaware River Conference, we also affiliated with CASA, one of their divisions, as a feeder league. So between the two, we brought in 18 teams from unaffiliated soccer into the U.S. soccer family. So that's great, and we're still, growing. Our goal is to have 4 conferences of 12 teams each, with Pro-Rel into a feeder league.
Yeah, so I know one of the things that most people ask about is how does the Pro-Rel part work? And basically, it's always been implemented in the Metropolitan Conference, but when you finish last, you of course are required to go into your selected feeder league. Most of the Metropolitan Conference is affiliated with the Cosmopolitan League, as he's very familiar with, but also some teams have opted to be affiliated with the GSSL based on their geography, LSFL, et cetera, et cetera. So, and that's a system that's been consistently working, and it's on its way to being implemented fully in the Delaware River Conference.
Yes, once we get to really, I would say 11 teams, then we're going to relegate 1 team. When we get to 12 teams, the goal is to relegate 1.5 teams, meaning there'd be the lowest placed team gets relegated, the second to lowest placed team plays, the second to top team, or the runner-up in a promotion playoff. So it's been working in the Metropolitan Conference. We've had 3 years now of teams being promoted. This year we're happy to announce Central Park Rangers has accepted promotion from the Cosmopolitan League. They're the champion. There's still some other leagues that are fighting for their championships. We don't know yet, but we're going to offer promotion also to the champion Long Island League and the Garden State League. And if they don't accept, then there would be some openings for some other teams.
Yeah, I think the other big question is that people ask about how do people make the Final Four?
The way we've decided to structure the league is that the conferences, our divisions, are basically like almost independent leagues. They're similar to the Tercea in Spain, the Oberliga in Germany, and they play basically, our plan is a European type system where you play everyone twice, once home, once away, half the matches in the fall half of the season, half the matches in the spring half of the season, and then what happens is you have a regular season champion. To make it exciting, to make it interesting so that no one runs away with it, we then have a playoff. And whoever wins the playoff from the conference goes to the Final Four. And depending on the conference, it's usually around 4 teams. This year the Mid-Atlantic had 3 teams because they were down some teams, so they had 2 plays 3 and the winner plays 1. In the Delaware River and the Metropolitan Conference, we had the top 4 playing 1 playing 4, 2 playing 3. And in the Northeast, they decided to just go with the regular season champion this year. So that's what's happened. That's how we do the playoffs, and then we have the Final Four weekend, which is usually the last weekend in June. This year, it's going to be at
the Virginia Revolution Sportsplex. I know I accidentally called it the Evergreen Sportsplex when I initially announced it. It's kind of like people confusing Lansdowne Yonkers with Lansdowne Boys. It's just that you've heard the name for so long that you're just naturally going to say it by instinct. So it's the Virginia Revolution Sportsplex. It's based in Leesburg, Virginia. If you don't know where that is, it's about 20 miles west of Washington, D.C. Very historic, and it's a very nice facility. When I look at it, I haven't been there yet, but when I look at it, it reminds me of like the old Wembley.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's got a lot of amenities, and we're very excited that Capelli Sports is the official sponsor of this year's Final Four. So big shout out to Capelli Sports. That's great. We welcome them. We're very excited to have them on board as a sponsor of the EPSL Final Four.
It's actually interesting. Capelli Sport is the kit provider for the New York Pan-Cyprian Freedoms, one of the conference representatives.
And they're also this year, Capelli Sports signed a deal with U.S. Adult Soccer, which we're all a member of. So it's exciting, the synergy working together. It's a great product, and we're very happy to have Capelli Sports sign on as the Final Four sponsor.
So there's another big announcement coming, but we're going to talk about it after a quick commercial break, sponsored by Capelli Sports. Something that we're just really glad to be able to say that. So we'll be right back after this quick break.
Capelli Sports.
All right, we're back, and as you guys noticed in that last presentation, we talked about the recent expansion of our affiliation with the NISA Pro League and their amateur arm, the NISA Nation. As you guys are probably familiar with, a couple years ago, NISA Nation was meant to be the league that we would feed into, but as it launched, it sort of became a corresponding league where teams were offered promotion from the EPSL to go there, but it was kind of operating coincidentally, and I think both parties agreed it was better to work together directly and make EPSL the Northeast Conference of NISA Nation. Can you build on that?
Yeah, we're very excited. We have been, for the last couple years, really 2 years, I'd say, we've been with NISA Nation as a NISA affiliate for 3 years. For the last 2 years, we've been working with other regional leagues, the Mountain Premier League, the Cascadia League, the Southwest Premier League, and we've been trying to get common standards and working together to form national championship eventually. And NISA Nation has also been involved in that process because all of our leagues have been affiliated with NISA and NISA Nation. After much discussions, I think everyone agreed that we already had a very good functioning league here, some very great teams, and this is the best of both worlds. So we are going to be the Northeast Conference of NISA Nation. We're still going to function independently, but we're going to work with the other parts of NISA Nation to establish a national championship. And I think the one great thing is not just the EPSL, but all the NISA Nation affiliates and leagues have the same model, which is we believe in the performance model, not the profit model. There's some leagues out there that go for profit. They want to get to 1,000 teams. They want to do that. And the reason for that is because the more teams they have, the more money they have. Our leagues, we all want to cap them. We want our top division to be capped, in certain geographical regions so that it's based on performance. So I think it's a great deal. We're very excited with NISA. We're very excited to work with them. We're very excited to work with the other regional leagues, and it's just going to be the sky's the limit. I'm 100% sold that this is going to be transformative for our league and for U.S. adult soccer as a whole.
I think the biggest thing, everyone that is following this is probably a big promotion relegation fan. What I personally like out of this is that we have a national playoffs that you can actually compete in. I mean, as the person that lives right next to Lansdowne Yonkers Football Club, it's great to add stars to the top of the crest, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other clubs in the area feel the same way. To have a national championship within this ecosystem that we've created through EPSL, the regional Premier Leagues, and NISA Nation, it's great to see a champion that can go once and for all, and hopefully, maybe, what do you think, Bill, a spot in the U.S. Open Cup in the future?
We hope so. That's a possibility. We're talking with NISA about the NISA Independent Cup, where we're going to try to work with the EPSL to get some more teams in that. There's so many good things, and people got to remember Lansdowne is a great club, but they started in the Cosmopolitan League 4th Division and worked their way up. There was no owner of Lansdowne who put a lot of money in one year and said, hey, let me just create this club. They worked their way up, and there are still a lot of clubs in the Cosmopolitan Soccer League that are working their way up. New York International went from the 4th Division. They're in the 2nd Division. Falco FC went from the 4th Division. They're now in the 2nd Division. They had 2 successive promotions. They're aiming to get to the EPSL. They're aiming to get to that level. And it's great to have that out there, and then they can fight not just in the EPSL, but then fight in a national tournament, and hopefully, get into the NISA Independent Cup and really grow. And this gives teams an opportunity to start at the bottom of the pyramid at a very affordable price. In the Cosmopolitan League, if you start at Division 4, you're paying $200 for the whole year, 1 year, $200. You start at that level, and then you could work your way up just like Lansdowne and get 5 divisions higher, because the EPSL is really above the 1st division of the Cosmopolitan League. And it's great. And we're going to announce a lot of things over the next couple of weeks. We have a plan in the EPSL to incentivize teams to have reserve teams or second teams in feeder leagues. We're going to be announcing that. As I mentioned, the NISA Independent Cup, we're going to be announcing some new people who are going to come on board to help administer the league. So new teams that are coming on board. I announced one today, Central Park Rangers, who accepted promotion. We'll try to get an interview with Mike Carducci in the next couple of weeks, the general manager of that club. But we've got a lot of exciting things. I've never been so excited about the future of adult amateur soccer.
I think Central Park Rangers, we talked about Lansdowne, but Central Park Rangers is the latest example of back-to-back seasons, promotions, and growth. I mean, They were, when I first got involved with the EPSL, they were still sitting in the CSL 2nd Division.
Yes, they won the 2nd Division last spring. They won in 2022. They won the 2nd Division, and now they won the 1st Division. And so they had 2 successive promotions. I don't remember the last time that happened in CSL where a team that got promoted to the 1st Division, even before we separated the EPSL, that got promoted then won the 1st Division. So I'm excited for them. I'm very happy they accepted promotion. It's going to be a challenge. It's a challenge for Hoboken. It was a challenge for Celtic the first year, but I think it's nothing but positive, and it'll enhance their club.
That's the other thing too, is like you haven't really seen a team quickly get put back into relegation. They're actually staying around and developing, so you're obviously seeing the positive growth, which is probably going to be the next thing we're going to talk about before we actually do the live draw. We're going to take another quick break, and we're going to bring on somebody from Lansdowne to talk about how the EPSL has built their success as a club.
Capelli Sport is an established global...
All right. No Bill? Okay, so I'm just going to keep it brief. So, Willie, how would you say the EPSL has built up Lansdowne as a club?
I think in general, just the standards have risen. The league standard itself has risen. The teams have gotten more competitive, and the interest throughout US soccer community has grown, and hence Lansdowne has grown from that. It's a bigger deal for our youths to look up to the EPSL. They see it as like a semi-pro league. The players we can attract are better based on the standard of the league, and you know, you get a good crowd there Saturday night games. You know, it's a big hit with the kids and that, and something that we didn't get to do regularly in the CSL, for example.
And I think when people think about the EPSL, they are amazed by the idea that it's not just playing teams in the New York area. It's winning your conference in this area and winning the playoffs, and then meeting some great clubs that you probably would rarely meet otherwise, unless it was in the Amateur Cup or Fricker Cup, in the interconference playoffs. I mean, the one experience that Lansdowne had in an interconference playoff, because I think they met the Pan Cyprians in the final, which was interesting that year. But they met DMV Rangers, and I think that was a unique experience. I don't think Lansdowne ever met DMV Rangers before, and they were pretty good. What would you say?
Yeah, no, that was the semi-final. I think it was 2 years ago down in what was
as Capelli Sport
Capelli
Complex.
Sports Complex. And that was the year where we were ultra successful. I think we went on almost a 500-day unbeaten run, and that was actually one of our toughest matches. So, you know, when you think about it again, it shows the competitiveness of the EPSL. You know, the conferences and that you can go and beat all these big teams, and all of a sudden you're coming up against DMV Rangers, who you fancied your chances against, but you know, it was definitely a tough game. I think it ended up 2-1.
No, it was 4-1.
Was it 4-1?
Yeah.
Oh, we scored a couple late, sorry.
Yeah.
But still, it was a tight one.
So, in the grand scheme of things, of course, Lansdowne unfortunately not in the Capelli Sport 2023 EPSL Finals, but in the future, when you look forward to the next season, what would be a club out of the conference that you would look forward to playing?
In the Metropolitan, or
outside of the Metropolitan?
Outside of the Metropolitan. I always liked I like to watch Fall River's progress, and obviously there's the team now coming out of the Delaware.
Oakland.
Oakland.
Yeah.
They look decent and seem to have a bit of momentum. Teams like that, and obviously I know Bill and the guys are working hard to get other teams in there. I can't name teams, but there's obviously teams I would like to come up against in the PSL maybe in the future. But I guess Fall River and Oakland right now, and obviously Nova. We've never actually played Nova competitively.
I think Nova is the matchup that a lot of people talk about on Twitter. They want to see Lansdowne play Nova, especially when it was 2 back-to-back EPSL clubs that went to the National Amateur Cup final. So definitely a lot of merit in there to one day see that matchup. But otherwise it was really cool to see Nova go up against the Pan Cyprians in the final last year. Most people. Big critique about the EPSL was is it just all about the Metropolitan Conference? But Nova actually went in there and won 2-0. So it just goes to show how hard matches can be. Your opponents, never underestimate anybody. Everybody is equally as strong in this. Right?
Yeah, no, without a doubt. There's no easy matches, especially when it comes to the league playoffs and then obviously the conference finals. As you say, you don't beat a team like the Pan Cyprians if you're not at the top of your game.
Exactly. So we're moving close to the draw itself. I want to thank Willie for joining and giving his thoughts on things. So next thing up is going to be the actual live draw. So we'll be right back after another set of commercial breaks.
Cheers, Pat.
Setting up speed, what a bender! Oh my, what a goal! That's a good strike, oh what a goal! Takes the shot, finds the top corner, Wilson puts the team over. Good cross and an easy finish right there. Messi equalizes!
Capelli Sport is an established global team sports provider based in New York City with partners reaching all corners of the world. Capelli Sport has developed success on the platform of GMA Accessories, a global retail manufacturer and importer of apparel, footwear, and fashion accessories, which was founded by CEO and President George Altiers in 1990. This established and successful platform has supported the growth and reach of Capelli Sport, which can now be seen on top clubs and leagues around the world. Capelli Sport has developed a unique ownership and management component of its business to include ownership shares in top professional clubs. MSV Duisburg, Germany, men Bundesliga 3 and women Bundesliga 1. HB Koga, Denmark, men First Division and women Elite Division. Cedar Stars Rush, USA and USL League 2, and Inter Allies, Ghana, Premier League. In addition to the professional clubs, Capelli Sport owns and operates a global youth academy, Cedar Stars Academy, with locations in New York and New Jersey, USA, Koga, Denmark, and Accra, Ghana. Capelli Sport puts focus on growing the brand, servicing partners, player development and coaching education opportunities, and supporting partner clubs' business. These clubs support the growth of the Capelli Sport brand, as well as a strong focus on player development and player opportunities. The uniqueness of the Capelli Sport business model, network, and experience puts the company in a league of its own in the service, expertise, and support it gives its partners. Capelli Sport is focused on working with like-minded individuals with a goal to push the limits and chart new territories.
It is the first ever Capelli Sport Fashion Show right here in Philly 2023. It's going to be so much fun.
We're back live, and I'm joined by local lad Killen, who's going to pick our final four. So we're going to pick the first team. Go ahead, from the team ball. And the first team selected is Nova, Northern Virginia. And now we'll pick where they get put, what number. And they are going to be team number 4. Let's pick the next team. The next team picked is New York Penn Cyprian Freedoms, champions of the Metropolitan Conference, regular season and playoff. And they're going to be team number They're going to be team number 3. Okay, let's go. Next one. Selected is Oakland United Football Club. Go ahead and let's see what number they are. They are team number 1. Team number 1. And let's go the last one. And that is Fall River. Thank God. Otherwise we'd have a problem. And go ahead. And they are team number 2. So if we can put on the screen who's playing whom. And there's your Final Four matchup. Thanks, Keelan, for stopping by. Local Loud Keelan. Okay, we're going to take a short break, and then we got a Q&A coming up.
Capelli Sport is an established global team sports provider based in New York City. You can bring the computer if you want. Capelli Sport is an established...
Okay. All right, welcome back, guys. So we have our matchup set. We have New York Pan Cyprian Freedoms will be playing against Nova in a rematch of last year's final, but it'll be in the semifinal this time. It seems to be the common thing to go on, right? Like I think of a lot of the great rematches of World Cup finals kind of happening in the earlier rounds of other games. I mean, of other editions. My favorite example was the '98 World Cup final being the 2006 quarterfinal. The 2010 World Cup final was pretty much the first matchup for both respective teams in the 2014 World Cup. So it's cool to kind of see something like that again. What do you think?
I think it's great. It's going to be, as they say in England, a cracker of a match. Two storied clubs that have a lot of history and going to be really exciting. So can't wait for it.
So we have the members of kind of the local soccer blogging, soccer media around. Was wondering if anybody had any questions. Can you hear us? It's a bit of a delay here, so I'm going to probably turn it on in here so that it can...
I can hear you at least.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So yeah, I guess my first question is, just to get the ball rolling, looking at the 4 teams that qualified for the EPSL playoffs this year, it's hard to overlook the fact that 3 of them are the same teams as last year. And that goes for saying that they're 3 very good teams, of course, Pan Cyprians, Nova, and Fall River. But at the same time, Fall River won the North, won their conference again, regular season playoffs. And Nova, they were top team in Mid-Atlantic. And I'm just kind of wondering, from a league perspective, is there any? Pat mentioned before that there's a thought with the EPSL that it's just the Metropolitan Conference that's what people worry about. How do you get past the argument that the Mid-Atlantic is just Nova's place to play, or that the New England is just Fall River territory? How are you going to? How would you combat those sort of ideas?
Well, I think I'll start with the first part of it. I think it's important to note that the bigger goal of what we're trying to accomplish here in the EPSL is the growth. It's not necessarily. I mean, of course, it's the competition and the merit, but to seeing the extensive growth that you see from the clubs that are entering this competition. You don't enter just to be winning every single year, even though you might be that way in the beginning. Even when you look at MLS, it was meant to be a league of parity, and it was dominated by DC United in the very beginning. The idea is that clubs grow and they aspire to be something better. I personally can't remember where Oakland had finished last year, but I think they're a good example of somebody that just kind of broke the expectation that it's the same teams winning every year. And eventually it can happen in any conference. Look, there's people who thought Lansdale Yonkers would win the league every single year, but it's just not that easy. And I know that's a Metropolitan Conference club, but when you look at the other conferences, you do see other teams getting better, and there is the opportunity down the road that if they do their job, they're going to get better, and they're going to make the league better as a whole, but through their own growth.
And also, I just want to add, I don't think 2 years is a fair metric. It's 2 years in a row, but it's not 10 years in a row. Bayern Munich just won the Bundesliga for 11 years in a row, so I don't think you can judge it on 2 years. I think you really have to look over a 5-year period before you can say one team is dominating that conference, that division.
John or Dennis, want to ask anything before I go again? I feel bad. I was just dominating these things.
Go ahead.
I'm here in a support role. I can answer questions. I'm not really here to ask questions.
Okay. Well, I guess another thing I'd love to ask about is with the prize money. $7,500 is a very substantial. It's a very good amount for a lower division competition, and I think just to compare it, I'm not sure how much to talk about, but the USASA Region 1 Amateur Cup, which is a major tournament for teams in this region, that awards $4,000 to clubs that win it. And I just kind of want to ask, what does it mean to have a prize pool? I'm sure Capelli's helping with that, but what does it mean from a league perspective to have that sort of money for teams to be playing over?
Well, we think it's a good prize pool. I think total if you look at all the prize money in the EPSL because the conference champions also get some and runners up, we have about a $30,000 prize pool. Some of that is through sponsorships, some of that is through team fees. But again, We're able to do that because we have, I said it before, we have the performance model, not the profit model. There's no owner of the EPSL who's putting the team dues in his pocket. So we're able to reinvest that money into the clubs. Yes, some people who do some administrative work get a little money, but it's very little money. It is not money that someone can work full-time on. So that's why we're able to do that. Between some sponsors and between the fact that we are a performance-based league, not a profit-based league. We're a non-profit entity. So we have a total of, I believe, $30,000 between all the conferences and the league.
Thank you. If I think anything else, I'll let you know.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, actually, I had a couple of questions. John from Protagonist, real quick. As exciting as it's been to see the EPSL grow and go into four different divisions, there are certain major amateur sides that have chosen not to want to be part of this. Do you see a point where maybe there could be a meeting of the minds where they would consider joining EPSL, or do you think there's just different philosophies that they're always going to stay separate?
Well, we hope they join. We're open to anyone, so I don't want to get into discussions. Different teams have different reasons for not joining. So we can't really comment on that. Some of it has to do with scheduling. Some of it has to do with their leagues. When we created the EPSL Metropolitan Conference, we spun off the Cosmopolitan League teams en masse. We spun off 9 teams into a conference. Not every league can do that. We certainly hope other teams will join. We believe the NISA Nation affiliation will certainly help that. We hope the Capelli Sports sponsorship will help that. And there's a lot of other announcements we're going to be making over the next several weeks. So I don't want to say too much, but there's going to be announcements on teams. There's going to be announcements on subsidizing teams that have reserve teams or second teams, where we're going to put money back into teams' pockets who put a reserve team in a feeder league. We're talking about some possibly league cups where we have some interleague play in a cup tournament that feeds into possibly some other tournaments. So there's a lot of exciting things. I don't want to say it's all going to happen in the next year, but I think there's a great possibility that we're going to get some other clubs in. And also, as I said before, as we love Lansdowne, they're great, but when they started in 1997, and you can go on the Cosmopolitan League website and look it up. We have every historical standing. They were in the 4th division, 3rd division, 2nd division, back down to the 3rd division, to the 1st division, back down to the 2nd division. So it isn't just getting a better team. It's making our teams that we have better. And so we're always looking for the next Lansdowne. Maybe it's Oak Lim this year, and maybe they'll be the next Lansdowne. Maybe it's Columbia FC. Maybe it's Fall River Marksman. We don't know who's going to be the next Lansdowne. So we want the best teams. Certainly, if there's room, we want them, but we're not just going to worry about who we don't have. We want to strengthen whom we do have, and that's why I said we're going to incentivize to have clubs where if you have a reserve team, you're going to get some money for your reserve team so that we don't have one-person shows who last a year or two, like in some other leagues, but really build something that's sustainable like Lansdowne, who now has, I think, somewhere between 30 and 35 teams. So that's but they didn't start like that. They started with one team, but they were a club. And they grew, and that's what we're going to do also. So yes, better clubs, but also strengthening the clubs we have.
I think from a non-administrative point of view, I think that it goes back to the idea that everybody does have their own viewpoint of what they think of a league when it first comes out. Of course, you're always going to have people that are going to be critical, and you're going to have teams that are just used to winning all 10 of their regular season matches in their respective leagues, and they may be intimidated to play some of these teams. It's a challenge to the teams that really want to grow as a club and become more competitive on the field and learn to grow. And I think growth is the recurring key word in this thing. Is that once you start seeing teams that grow in the EPSL and they start beating these other teams that are winning 10-0 in their current leagues, then they might just say, hey, you might join the EPSL. And I think there's some clubs out there that are turning their heads and thinking that they may join the EPSL for that challenge.
Exactly.
Thank you. Anybody else? going once, going twice. So I'm thinking that with all the
That's a wrap then.
yeah, I think with all the questions asked,
We actually have a question from the audience. We actually do have a question from the audience.
and we'll repeat it for him.
Yeah, I would like to put forward why is nobody from the Long Island Soccer Football League willing or applying to join our league?
Well, those.
Well, we did offer New York Irish Rovers, the regular season champion, the opportunity to apply. They have some deadlines. They haven't passed yet. But you have to remember, and certainly not a criticism to Long Island Soccer Football League, but the Cosmopolitan League has a much deeper roster. Our first division has 11 teams this year, had 12. The year before, when Hoboken got promoted, they played 22 matches. It's a lot of matches. They play 11 to fall, 11 to spring. The Long Island League, I think they only had 7 teams in the first division. So there's less teams there, and it's a league that is based really just in 1 or 2, 3 counties. So it's a bigger step for those teams, and also importantly, most of those teams don't have reserve teams. So it is a one, I won't say a one-person show, but it's a one-team show. So the Cosmopolitan League, because of the reserve requirement, the teams are much more able to absorb promotion like Celtic, Hoboken, CPR, because they have a much bigger player pool and support system. But Long Island League teams are welcome. Garden State League teams are welcome. And they're always going to be offered.
I was just going to say, I think it's too early to say. I mean, this is the first year that they're officially a partner league, so it's a matter of just waiting to see if they say yes or no. So that we can't really comment on that too much. I think maybe the greater question is this is the 3rd season in which the GSSL is a feeder league to the EPSL. So it'd be great to see if that champion promotes into the EPSL. That will really broaden the horizon of everything.
Yes,
So.
and they're still playing. They don't have a champion yet, so we'll see.
Yeah, so I think that's all the questions for tonight. Guys, thanks you for tuning in. Be sure to tune into the matches on Saturday. The first game, tentatively, it may change, will be at 6 o'clock, and the second game at 8 o'clock. You know the matchups, but we don't know the exact times yet. That's going to be something that's going to be discussed between the clubs and the league.
Should be announced tomorrow. Should be announced in the next day. We just have to work out a few logistics on that, but we'll give you all the information on our website, social media, and as I said, we'll be making some more announcements league-wide over the next few weeks.
Yep.
So stay tuned.
Yeah. So just go on the league website to look for the links. And hope you guys enjoy the matches over the weekend. Maybe some of you might make the trip out to the Capelli Sport EPSL Finals, and we hope to see you there, or at least see your notification that you're watching.
Great. Have a good night. Take care.
Capelli.